Hi Sam, we are here. We're back. We had a cardinal sign rising for our Aries Ingress. This is us every quarter checking in with the ingress of the sun into the next cardinal sign each quarter, and we are recording today the Cancer Ingress, which actually happened yesterday. We're recording on the 22nd. It happened just after sunset last night. When you see the sun here, 0 degrees Cancer, just there in the sixth house. Now, we've been jibber jabbering just kind of quietly in preparation for this recording and made a few preliminary observations. Did you want to kick us off? What did you think?
Um, well, I think it's always good to start with comparing the Aries ingress since that's like the ruling chart of the year.
Hmm.
And really these quarterly ones are just kind of like updates to that.
Sure. Did you want me to pop
So
up the jewel wheel?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so here we have the Cancer Ingress of the Sun and the kind of like the root chart, the Aries Ingress of the Sun that happened on the 21st of March. Oh, look at that,
Mm,
hey?
I know. So
I'm
really
looking at the
interesting.
rising degree, how close it is.
I know. And so we were talking about that before we got on is really, I mean, I really see this quarter as being a continuation of the things we spoke about in the Aries Ingress. Um, we've got a fallen Saturn, um, you know, in the fourth house now in
Yeah.
this Cancer Ingress and sort of doing the same thing, ruler of the chart doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's a bit kind of
Interesting.
repressed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like I think all the things that we were talking about in terms of weather um and the housing market and how people are feeling um are all continuing on.
Yeah. Just on the weather, I did notice like a couple of weeks ago they have kind of officially declared the El Nino, which typically brings the lower than average rainfall and sometimes droughts and like increased fire risk to Australia. So yeah, your weather prediction there seems to have been spot on. That dry energy just feels like really
Mm.
brittle, doesn't it? Like kindling down there.
Well,
Just
I think where I am on the mid-north coast has actually been really wet,
oh,
which
it's
is
sunny
really
as here
interesting.
too. Like
Yeah. So that could be what and I do know that like there is some really great meteorologists out there who do independent reports on what that is. And so they're still predicting the super El Nino, but they're saying what's going on at the moment and mainly due to winds. But I think that's interesting because this last quarter we had, Venus and the moon there,
yeah,
which are the very kind of water-loving, moist planets. And then you move over to the Cancer ingress, and it's just, sort of that's starting to move away. So it wouldn't surprise me that if from here on out we start getting really dry.
yeah.
Um,
I think the Neptune down there too maybe brings some of that kind of fleeting moisture that we're experiencing. It is a bit unusual for us to be having wet weather at this time, but it kind of speaks to the extremes that the land is experiencing. Like, it just doesn't rain. Like, it's like rainy for weeks. It's never just dry. It's like weeks without rain. Like,
mm,
it's very polarizing. I think that's the presence of Saturn there. Saturn often being a planet of extremes, that dryness, that coldness, although probably not quite as cold in Aries there.
I think that what I was looking at was it's interesting, because there's so much in the Aries ingress, like action. like hovering around, yeah, that fourth house cusp,
Hmm.
which is being ruled by Mars. It's really interesting to see what's going on with Mars um, this this quarter. And yeah, look at that degree. That's pretty
Mm.
ugly. That's good old Medusa, Algol, being pinged there.
It's very
Um,
close to Uranus too. Like, I mean, I know it's not probably a exact conjunction, but like it's just like the combination with the fixed star, like it's in very volatile territory, that Mars. And obviously Mars doesn't like to, live life in Cancer. Like it kind of speaks to that the changes that are happening with perhaps the housing policies have been extended in the last budget. The government's kind of lobbed an unexpected change in there with the change to capital gains as well as to negative gearing. People don't really know what's happening. Maybe Mars in Taurus perhaps describes the sluggish property market. They say that auction clearance rates are right down. People are holding off on purchases and things, like nobody's buying and selling. I think
mm,
Saturn down there too kind of reiterates that idea of being like locked and immobile, like things, the exchange of property isn't happening. Um,
mm,
and
definitely.
that could also relate to like what farmers are planting as well, and their ability to predict their harvest cycles, and with petrol prices and like all the complexities that they're required to
Mm,
know what they're doing with their food production and
yep.
land-based businesses.
So it's interesting because like Mars is ruling over the fourth house of, real estate, home. I would even say like I've learned this a little bit from Jyotish is like happiness as well, like the general population's happiness. And it's
Okay.
also ruling over the 11th house of like the parliament. And so
Mm,
seeing it fall here in the fifth house of speculation, and especially, if you look at the fifth house is the second house from the fourth house. So that's like money.
ah,
Yeah, money made
property values.
from property. And so that's showing, that's got Medusa's touch there, turning it to stone right now. So,
Mm.
um, you know, prices are starting to fall. People are starting to feel fear. No one's wanting to move, like statues, like Medusa touch.
Yeah, I'm also thinking like the Medusa and Algol, that idea of like the head coming off, and that
Mm,
the stagnation, particularly at the top of the market. Like there's still action
mm,
around, like what people can actually afford. But like yeah, where the big money is, where all that Taurian, all those Taurian assets, they're just just stuck.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, that Taurus, that's land. That's
yeah,
land value. And it's also luxury items as well. So,
yeah.
so I think that Mars there is also talking about the stock market in general. And so, um, I think this is a pretty big warning for people to get out of like high risk markets for
Yes,
myself.
that's very interesting, giving the public offer of certain, like I know it wasn't here, but people are very excited about IT investments and data investments and things, and that Mars kind of approaching Uranus there, like it's almost like that speculative bubble, all these,
Mm,
digital infrastructure projects that are popping up around the place, but it's just like a little bit greedy, a little bit acquisitive, but also incredibly unstable as well. Not to mention the way it uses up resources like of nature,
mm,
like the solar and wind power, the renewable energies, and water and things as well. Like the wealth of the land, like before it's even
mm.
become money. Um, yeah, it's just kind of hoovering that up for
Yeah.
digital purposes.
Yeah, because Uranus, like, I mean, I don't really use that in terms of humoral, the weather and
Mm,
stuff like that. But you would definitely say that,
yeah,
modernly, like Uranus would be drying, I would say,
yeah,
because of the fire aspect
yeah.
of him.
Like
Um,
static electricity, like that only happens generally in like dry air when you reach for the car in winter and you
yeah.
get a ping.
So in this chart, in the Cancer Ingress, um, we do see Saturn has moved a little bit further along in its square towards the angles. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
like the ascendant, descendant. Um, but we were discussing this earlier, is that it's not actually going to perfect, um, I don't think during this year. So it's not going to, that Saturn isn't going to reach that Venus like and that moon in the solar return of Aries ingress, and it's not going to perfect that either. So in a way, that's really good.
Yes.
Um, yeah, because like I mean it might be prolonging the inevitable, but we might have a completely different chart
Yeah, it
next
almost
year.
feels like anticipating disaster that perhaps doesn't eventuate, like a
Mm,
pessimistic outcome or something a little bit dare I say, rash, should
mm,
Saturn, yeah, come perfect to the position of Venus in the Ingress chart during the forecast period. But yeah, that doesn't happen.
mm,
The sun there in the sixth house, I think there's a real focus on like the nuts and bolts of people's experiences in an everyday way, like particularly their access to healthcare, perhaps childcare, like just everyday working experiences, the people that that pack your groceries, that come to your house and, I don't know, fix
mm.
the fence and things like that. Like it's really, it, it doesn't feel ambitious. It just feels like getting by this chart. It's quite modest in a way, which I think is echoed by that 23-degree Virgo moon up there as well. Like these are cadent placements for the moon and the sun. Like things aren't being driven forward this quarter, which perhaps gives us a bit of a rest.
Mm.
Much needed rest.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, definitely. Although, the Cancer chart, although it's got two malefics in fall,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of nice to see, we're getting help from, like getting help from that Jupiter and from Mercury and the moon even. I would even say the moon, it actually up
Yeah.
in the ninth house, at least it's kind of high in the sky and making a trine has made a trine to the and to the ascendant
Yeah.
and
It's
the
got the sextile
descendant.
to yeah, Mercury and Jupiter as well. I feel like that could be like we're kind of like the ninth house placement shows that we're still at the whim of international forces, what our alliances and international trade and things are doing. But I quite liked the sextile to Mercury there. It's angular, and then it'll go on to make the sextile to Jupiter as well. And like that's optimistic. It's
Mm,
not kind of like a big, huge party energy, but I think that bodes well for, the agreements that, we've made with other nations. Um, it also is positive for communication and I think transport as well. Because,
mm,
if you contrast what was happening in the third house in the Aries Ingress chart, it was really under pressure here, that third house cusp. But through those agreements and the support of, peers, international partners, people that we've got agreements with, that Jupiter ruled house, that third house Pisces there is a lot stronger. It's active. And I think the transportation and the petrol issue is resolve to a large degree. Um,
I don't
and
know.
you know, yeah,
Yeah, I think this sees, yeah, de it definitely could be trade deals. And so, the ruler of Moon is ruler of that Mercury,
yeah.
Jupiter, and that seventh house cusp. And so it's interesting to watch the flow of the moon in this chart. So first it's hitting that Mercury. So it definitely is talking about deals being made with our allies or our, open enemies, however you want to see it. Um, and the kind of trade deals, because Mercury rules over commerce, and communications and contracts, and then it hits that Mars, which is
And it
really
does too.
interesting. Yeah, so it looks like it's gonna do that. Um, so something might happen in the markets, like we might see something happen
Yeah.
um,
The thing is,
as a
it's a
result, or
yeah.
just after this kind of this announcement, um, and then after that, it is going to make a connection with that Jupiter. But see, the moon is in Jupiter's fall, or
Mm.
in detriment, sorry.
So you think
Um,
this is like pump and dump, like, people like
yeah.
buy in and then sell off. I'm also wondering if that could be a legal decision too, because the ninth house relates to like legal judgments as well.
Mm. So
Mm.
all in all, like even though things kind of look good, you're gonna see who's actually benefiting, and the people who are benefiting here are definitely, even though this is really how Jupiter Mercury is really helping Australia, and hey, in the angles, we've got these beautiful benefics. I class, Mercury as a benefic. And so that is really protecting us and the alliances that we're making. But it is in the end to protecting um our allies,
Yeah,
main
it it's better for
because
them than it is for us. But like
yeah,
we benefit through association. They might throw us a bone.
yeah,
Like,
a
thanks.
hundred percent, a hundred
Yeah.
percent. We've still got Saturn ruling our second house,
Hmm.
right? So we're being buffered by this beautiful Jupiter, Mercury, but we still need to be frugal, and we're going to be
Absolutely.
advised to be frugal, and we're going to experience that. Um, but what I was coming back to that sun,
Yeah.
I actually I see that as elbow as well because it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Prime Minister. And I actually wonder, because it's also being ruled by the moon,
Mm.
um, I'm wondering if, in the sixth house is the common people, the workers, the working class. And I had this feeling like last ingress, I was like, wonder what his health is like at the moment. Like, I wonder if he's okay because um
He works very
see,
hard and
it's
yeah.
actually, see, that sun is also in the ninth house from the 10th house. So we've got it like a lot of
Mm.
so he could also be just doing a lot of wheeling and dealing, and it could also be his focus on importing, like, a lot of the working class through migrate immigration.
Mm. Yeah, there's a weird kind of relationship there, isn't there?
Mm. And then that because see, then we've got the moon, which is ruling over that, which is like what he's thinking about. even though he's also Venus here as well. But the Prime Minister is generally, or the ruler is Sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we've also got the moon up here as well. So, um, and we have noticed that. I mean, I live in regional rural Australia, and like it's pretty like interesting to see how many people from other countries are now doing a lot of the farming work.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, we've got like Vietnamese and like people from the islands and in our town. And it's like, regional Australia isn't very multicultural usually.
Yeah.
So so you notice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And without those agreements, I'm just looking at, the moon. Like we have to kind of import people to
Mm,
satisfy the moon, the moon's
yeah.
hunger, like from foreign countries, because you've got that. Yeah, and there's the backlash. Yeah, I'm also looking at Venus as potentially the 10th, the Lord of the 10th as the prime minister, and then
Yep.
the Lord of the fourth as the opposition leader. So there's another potential way of viewing that. And yeah, like either way, whether you think, if the prime minister is the sun or if he is Venus, like he's not having a fun time, like, in the sixth or on the eighth house cusp. Um, and the opposition, the official opposition, the leader of the Liberal Party, like you talked earlier about the volatility of that Mars and generally how kind of tough territory it's going through, and the changes that yeah, it's likely to experience in
Mm.
the near future.
And I think yeah, it's interesting that and you see that Mars is also in the sign of that Venus too. So
Mm,
it looks like the opposition leader is basically taking their cues from, you know, what
yeah.
and they're taking their cues. I've actually noticed this a lot, to be honest. So in social media, like I've been wondering, like everyone is absolutely losing their shit over Albo and his new tax laws, right? Um, that's that Venus right on the cusp of the eighth house,
Yeah, somebody's
right?
capitalizing on it, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. And so there's just constant whinging, and I'm like, are these like there can't be this many people on Twitter just like whinging about all of their investment properties all of a sudden like not
I
doing
know, if you're
well.
sitting on that many investment properties, surely you're like out the back counting your money, not yeah, having a little whinge on your socials. Like, yes, that is interesting.
I was wondering, I'm like, are these like promoted, like political kind
Bot,
of
like bots.
party, yeah, bots, like just like absolutely hammering the Labor government over the new taxation laws kind of thing. Um, of course, there's a lot of reasons why you're not going
Mm,
to like that, but
yeah,
but
nobody
that, yeah,
loves tax, except maybe a tax
oh
agent who
God,
makes money off of talking about tax.
yeah,
But yeah. And oh, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like, you've got somebody there, like a queen. And I must admit, after your observation, the Aries Ingress chart, that Venus in Aries here might be Pauline. I thought, oh my gosh, she's still at it. Venus in another fire sign here. What if this is still Pauline Hanson, the kind of substitute opposition as well? And
yeah,
Neptune
yeah,
down there on the IC as that does kind of put a shadiness over the opposition parties, like who it is, what they're doing, what their aims and outcomes are. Like there has been whispers about, new political parties forming and, people swapping parties and preference deals and all sorts of stuff. So it does look like a lot is going on behind the scenes.
Mm.
And even the negotiations, like about the tax reform, like it's in the sixth house. The sixth house is like, not a great house. It's not visible from the ascendant. So there is that sense of not being publicly transparent. Like it's hidden away what perhaps the prime minister's doing, perhaps what whoever this Venusian character is. And yes, that can be the prime minister. Maybe it's Pauline Hanson. Maybe it is a influential citizen with a lot of money.
It could be, but like, so that Mars is also rules over mining too, like, and
I was
ruler
thinking
of
of a
war.
minor. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that could be like the Gina Pauline connection.
It could. It could.
I mean, that's, if you look at the angle between those two, that's like a 10th house. Um, that Venus is fourth house from Mars, but Mars is
Yeah,
the
if
tenth house.
they're kind of like in a whole sign square relationship. Um,
Yeah, so
mm.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's hard to see. Like I think the darkness of Neptune and Saturn down the bottom, like we're all just kind of like, head down, just trying to get by, like, make our toast, get to work, do the shopping, like, keep the lawn mowed. Um, and then you've got these kind of shady characters. I'm not saying the sun's shady. The sun's very bright. Even Venus is quite bright as well. She's got plenty of visibility at the moment, which again points to Pauline. She has also been, she's highly visible at the moment. Um, yeah, but the eighth house cusp as well. It's also not great. It's almost like the leadership or the perceived leaders, whether it's Albo who, sits in the seat or, you know, Australia's next prime minister as Pauline kind of waddles out under that kind of banner and has been tagged in that way. She's been referred to as that. Yeah, there's a
I
lot
wonder if
going
it
on that
goes
we can't
through.
see.
I actually wonder if it's going to go through. Like, you've got the eighth house ruler in the sixth. Like, they're not like active planets. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
mean the
that's not active
laws?
places. Yeah,
Yeah, but,
like the eighth house ruler is the sun. And
mm,
so that's the prime minister again. So you've got the Venus, which is ruling the 10th, which is officially the
yeah.
prime minister.
Hmm.
Sun is naturally like you know, they're both on the eighth house, so that's taxation. But
Yeah,
it's in the sixth, and so sixth is like, in a way, you can see that what he's really thinking about is he is trying to help the working class, right?
yeah.
That's the sixth house. They're the people who have to slave to
Yeah.
work, you know.
I'm also wondering
And
if that relates to the NDIS as well, the sixth house, like that, caring for people and making sure that they can pay for it, like because the sixth house is ruled
yeah,
by Mercury, and yeah, the debt levels. Venus in Leo's got expensive tastes. We
yeah,
could
definitely.
really have
And
a
that's
blowout in national debt there.
that's Venus in the sun in the Leo sign. Leo is the kind of, when you talk about a class system, you know, Leo people are the ones who've got the money. They're the
Yeah.
big business owners, the like corporations, like all the ones who've got the money who are the ruling class. And that's who he's taxing.
Yes, and they have a voice, um,
Mm,
an outside voice, extra visibility. You like hear their points of view. Like you mentioned that there's like, like who are all these property owners on Twitter, like
Yeah.
talking about
Some of these people have got like multiple, like having a whinge.
Yeah, so it seems to really be about like kind of like a lot about everybody else, this chart. And
Mm,
I don't think like the people feel very visible. Like, Saturn, sorry, Saturn rules the ascendant, where, still down here in the fourth house on the dark side of the chart. The moon in Virgo, if that's the mood of the people. We're like diligently working, just doing the small things that we know we need to do. Probably, I don't mind the ninth house here as kind of like it feels
mm.
like hopeful in a way,
Yeah.
because it's got faith. It's got maybe just like a little tiny little bit of faith, with the application to Jupiter, even though like, oh, yeah, like the moon's
Well, it
received,
ends up
but
with it ends up with Jupiter. So that's
yeah, but yeah, Jupiter's in joy in the ninth, and if it was up there, it'd be like pretty unhappy in Virgo. So yeah, I think what the people want is fairly modest.
mm,
But we're kind of we the people are being kind of shouted down by like overseas influence, by whoever this noisy person is on the eighth house cusp, just living large. Much like the Mars in Taurus. Like it's just, I don't know. Looks a bit like rich snouts in a trough, doesn't it? Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think the best thing about this chart, and I think it's actually better than the Aries Ingress. So I think we're going to get a little bit of relief, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think the weather is a big worry just because we've got well, sorry, flipping back to bad, but Saturn, Mars in their fall, both ruling over housing, real estate, and weather.
Hmm.
So that's showing property problems with stock market, um, problems with the housing market, and problems with the weather. But that Jupiter, Mercury to me, and the Moon, are both talking about some sense of protection, and buffering
Yeah.
of any financial true financial hardship through trade deals
Yeah.
this quarter. Right?
Just one random thought about that Mars here. The fifth house is associated with gambling. So I wonder if that Mars applying to Jupiter there, or, there could be some legislation to kind of make that fairer. Because gambling
Mm.
companies make heaps of money, and the technology behind it's very sophisticated. And like people just can't stop. Also do sport as well, is fifth house. So, and there's like an untidy link between sport and gambling too. So I think there's some kind of discomfort there that will perhaps, if not lead to change, at least lead to consideration of some radical change. Although perhaps like with the moon being in Virgo, it would only be like a small tweak. I know they played around with it, but people are just like, you've got to be joking. Um,
It'd
yeah.
be that's actually, I mean, I don't really watch the news that much, but it'd be real because the fifth house is the 11th house from the seventh, right? So we're talking about,
Yep.
so that's like a double whammy, right? And that Mars also rules our 11th house, right?
Yep.
So so this could be definitely some something that goes through Parliament that's like some kind of law that goes through Parliament, perhaps around gambling or some legislation around housing, um, that could or that could benefit um, our allies,
Yeah.
perhaps.
It's
Because,
odd.
seeing the Mars, the 11th house ruler in the opposite house, it's almost like also again saying, okay, something might get pushed through Parliament that perhaps benefits someone else.
Yeah. I wonder, I know there's meant to be a Papua New Guinean rugby league team.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
that was announced. I don't know where that's at, but
Oh, the money.
what the money, it's international. It's like, it makes kind of people happy in a little way watching, their having a team that they can identify with. And, it's kind of like
Yeah.
bread and circuses. Don't worry about your tax bill, darlings. Yeah, like, look, you've got a football team. Yay. Or,
Yeah, okay. So that might be where we're seeing trade deals happening, is like
yeah.
through that sort of thing.
It's also that soft diplomacy as well to, kind of make ourselves seen as a friend in the regions and like neighborhood, like I'm thinking like Pacific. And I think recently there was a bit of a turnaround with the Solomon Islands, maybe, who had made some kind of deal with China, and then they changed their mind and were going to do some other kind of deal with their neighbors. I'm pretty sketchy on that though. But yeah, there is this kind of jostling for regional influence.
Mm.
But yeah,
Very
deals and
interesting.
sport and gambling.
And so, and even the third house, right? Um, which are our neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
um, is that Jupiter.
Sure is.
And in the Aries Ingress, that Mars is in the third house of our neighbors. So, and it's applying to that Jupiter in the Aries Ingress chart too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, how,
You can just go down wormholes. You can just
how
keep
did we end up
looking
at
and
rugby
looking.
league?
I know, my least favorite subject.
Look, I have family members that follow it, so it's
Yeah,
around. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that catches your eye, Sam? I think we've done a pretty good
Um, we didn't really
dance
talk about the nodes, but the nodes are basically, you know,
in the same
just
positions,
same
aren't they?
position.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, on the house cusp of the third and the ninth. Yeah, they're not quite as active because, in that Aries Ingress chart, we had Mercury conjunct the North Node, but Mercury's still quite active, isn't it, in that Cancer chart? So I guess transportation, logistics, and yeah, the deals that we can do, and I guess news from outside. Hmm.
I actually think the biggest thing that I can see in this with the nodes here is just oh yeah, is
What?
that like Uranus squaring them? I'm not a yeah, I don't usually, but that'll be interesting to see, you know.
Yeah. But you've got
Mm,
the rulers of the nodes together in Cancer there. So, and then Jupiter's still in really good condition there. Like that
mm,
Jupiter's pretty amazing. Like in its sign of exaltation, it's angular. We've got really great friends and partners, even though we're a bit of a sad sack ourselves. But
mm,
yeah, that emphasizes the agreements with neighbors. Hmm.
mm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Bake some muffins for your neighbors, people, in honor of the Cancer
Yeah,
Ingress.
yeah.
Yeah, or
It's all
share a
about the
photo with
neighbors.
them if they're from somewhere else. Like, swap your cuisines. Like, that would be a
Mm.
beautiful way to, bond with your neighbors wherever you are. Hmm.
Well, I guess it'll become more and more important if, if things get tighter, we might start kind of having to rely on our neighbors a little bit more.
Yeah, I community can be challenging, but yeah, also really rewarding. And yeah, I think what we have in common usually outweighs our differences when we get down to it,
Mm.
and that is cause for celebration. Like, what do they say? Like, a problem shared is problem halved. Like, I think that's my, catchphrase
That
for
is so
the
true.
Cancer Ingress.
Mm.
Okay, well, we'll be back for the Libra Ingress because cardinal sign rising in the Aries Ingress chart compels us. And it's always good to check in and talk through the chart in a fun and chatty way, even if we don't always see the sunshine and rainbows we would like to.